Welcome back to the F1 2017 career mode, and you join me for round number 18 of season 3, and it's the Mexican Grand Prix, a firm favourite of mine to come off the back of the calendar. It's one of the actually of the final 3 races, this is my favourite. Brazil's sort of okay, it's just the AI are very strong around the Brazilian Grand Prix circuit, and not a huge fan of Abu Dhabi, but nonetheless we move into the very high speed Mexican Grand Prix circuit back on the calendar. This is 2017, so the 3rd year in a row it's back on the calendar. Bit of maths coming out of my mouth just there. Anyway, we come in to this weekend with a very strong opportunity of clinching the Drivers' World Championship. After this Grand Prix weekend, there will only be a maximum of 50 points up for grabs, and we could very much win it here in our fight with Valtteri Bottas. So we're going to start our qualifying lap with only 3 and a bit minutes left of the session, charging down the main straight with low downforce, max fuel mix and DRS wide open as we're nearly half a tenth up just in a straight line. We brake nice and late into turn 1, clip the curb. Oh, look at the fresh grip on the ultra soft tyres, just bouncing over the curves, plant the power, DRS open on the back straight, and that is us up a tenth and almost a half there as we come through. We set the fastest time in the first sector, 2 tenths up on current provisional pole time, but the only sacrifice is with my low downforce setup that I'm running, I'm not exactly very hot through the final sector, which is where I lose a lot of my time. But so far, halfway through the lap, it's looking good. We've gone slow through the left-hander. You can see in accordance to our delta, we've dropped a bit of time, and I've run wide through that left-hander. So we try and make up time by admittedly taking a bit of liberty through the right-hander. Through the fast section, we're just over a tenth up on our best time, though. We brake just after the 100-metre board, clout the curb on the inside as we come into the stadium section, then brake nice and tight for the hairpin. You can see I've made a boatload of time up compared to the previous lap, and then just brake it a bit later into the final corner. Now it's just an acceleration zone up to the line. We're over 4 tenths up on our previous best time, cross the line, and it's P7 only. So you can see how we went from 2 tenths up to 8 tenths down. Initially it looked like I was going to have enough fuel for another run, but was not to be. By the end of qualifying, we found ourselves down in P8 with Lewis Hamilton on pole position, 75 thousandths of a second ahead of Sebastian Vettel. Then comes Kimi Raikkonen, 2 tenths back. Fernando Alonso there, up in P4, once again surprising. 4th place on the grid. Daniel Ricciardo up there with the Red Bull in 5th. Much better qualifying from him than in recent memory. Valtteri Bottas, our championship rival, down in 7th. Sergio Perez, 6th. Sergio Perez is 7th. So is 8th. Max Verstappen is 9th. Esteban Ocon rounds out the top 10 for Force India. So, a fairly obligatory and standard 2-stop race here around Mexico. The 3-stop really isn't that beneficial in regards to degradation and tyre wear, so we're going to stick with that as we have 5 red lights. Lights are out and away we go. Not too held too long here at Mexico. Initially our launch was okay, but off the line the other cars have mugged us, but we're going to get a good slipstream off the back of Valtteri Bottas as we head down towards turn 1. Perez on the right, there's cars 3 wide, 4 wide, Alonso's up into P2, darting around Sebastian Vettel. He wasn't able to make the move on him. Hamilton sweeps round, Raikkonen's battling, there's still 3 wide through the corners. Alonso gets pinched on the apex, makes contact, loses the car. We get him on acceleration, we're up to 4th, P8 to P4. In the opening sequence of corners, Raikkonen goes defensive against Lewis Hamilton. Vettel's got a commanding lead already. We're going to dive it down the inside of both cars, 3 wide momentarily, into the second chicane, then park it on the apex of the second part. Don't allow anyone to duck underneath us, and that is us in 1 and a bit sectors up from P8 to P2 in the Mexican Grand Prix, and if it stays like this with Valtteri Bottas behind us, we will win the Drivers' World Championship. But at the end of lap 1, Sebastian Vettel has a commanding 2.9 second lead. That Ferrari very strong in the opening part of this Grand Prix. By the end of lap 2, Vettel does a 19.4, we do an 18.8, and then Hamilton also an 18.8, just half a tenth quicker than us there. So we have the pace versus Sebastian. It's just if we can close him down there. You saw the gap was down, and now we're on to lap 5. The gap, once again, ever closing. I'm not pushing the car too hard in the early stage of the Grand Prix. I want to save the rich mix for later on. Hamilton darting around behind us. The gap is 1.6 to Sebastian, but bear in mind, our tyres are starting to wear out, and this McLaren still just isn't really excellent on its tyres. I do find that I have to sort of maybe come in a lap earlier than the AI. We especially saw that around Austria, where cars were able to make the ultra soft go longer to be able to pull a 1-stop, where we went for a 2. Hamilton now at the start of lap 6 pulling alongside us. A nice side view of the Mercedes there, just edging ever so slightly, but we brake a tiny fraction later than him, and that enables us to hold it with a nice wide turn 1 at Mexico. It does allow for sort of very good side-by-side action and moves around the outside. But Hamilton isn't exactly going to give up there. He goes for a DRS move down into the second chicane. Can he make the move stick once again due to the wide nature of the circuit? He does manage to stick side by side. We have to close and squeeze him out on exit, and it was there sort of where the back end drifted a little bit and I wasn't able to plant the power down. I started to get a sense that the tyres were going off. Vettel's now pulled a 5-second advantage, and Fernando Alonso is in the pits at the end of lap 7. That then makes me believe he's going to be running the 3-stop this afternoon, because that's a very early pit stop, so we'll see how that works out for Fernando. He's going to always have an undercar and everyone else around him as we battle Hamilton through turn 1, and we held the outside, as I just mentioned. Hamilton then dives his car down the inside of the second part of the chicane. A reckless move from Hamilton there, pushed us nearly into the wall, but Bottas is going to capitalise on that, and he's up to second place, going up towards the chicane. Can we try and dive it back down the inside of control? Bottas... Poo has gone everywhere from Valtteri Bottas as he's locked up, and he nearly could have had us into the second chicane, but Valtteri Bottas, though, locked up, allowed us to come through. It's now the end of lap 8, and I'm supposed to go one more lap, but I've had enough of these tyres. They're falling off. Vettel is just accelerating down the road from me, so I'm coming in at the end of lap 8, and it's a good thing I do, because as we look behind us, Valtteri Bottas is also in the pit lane. So without knowing, I've actually covered him off, and I'm going to prevent him from getting the undercut versus us, and that's going to be crucial going through the rest of the Grand Prix. Can McLaren get me out ahead of him? 2 seconds flat. Excellent pit stop by the McLaren boys, and I think we've actually managed to pull a gap out a little bit against Bottas. But now we're going to need to get the pedal down on our outlap here. You see Alonso, the undercut has worked out for him. Even though he's been in traffic, he's jumped us. But he's obviously tucked up behind Danny Kvyat just there, as you can see. We're out in 16th place. Bottas 17th. We've easily got a little second and a bit to him there. So now it's about carving through the traffic as quick as we can to prevent Hamilton from being able to undercut us. So here we go. End of lap 9. Bottas has closed up to us. We've closed up to Alonso. Let's have a little look down the inside of the stadium. I get Alonso, and then sort of a half-hearted go to see if he left the door open, and Danny Kvyat did exactly that, so we dived it down the inside. I tried saving a little bit of fuel through the middle sector of lean mix because I knew I was going to catch up to them due to this car's superior speed over the lower end teams. And now we're going to come out the straight. Other cars are in the pit lane. Who are we going to gain against? Who's that in the pits? I believe it to be Sergio Perez. Yes, it is. So we've passed Sergio Perez comfortably, as I would expected us to. It's now about when Hamilton comes into the pits. So now we're in a DRS zone. We don't have DRS, but we are in the slipstream of Marcus Ericsson, and we're going to go late braking move. Ericsson didn't really appear to see it coming. It wasn't actually a massive dive bomb. It's just a nice controlled move down his inside. And now later on in the lap, we're closing up to the back of Lance Stroll here. And we're just going to take the stadium section just a bit better than him. He's swung it out wide for the hairpin, understandably so. It is the racing line, but he may have wanted to defend that a bit harder, but he must understand that he's not exactly racing us. We move on a few laps later. We've been getting the foot to the floor, as it were. We've caught up to Jolyon Palmer, who's in 6th place, and we're going to overtake. This was our favourite overtaking spot against everyone. Especially as we were coming through the traffic. Admittedly, we did overcook it a little bit coming to the stadium. So Palmer, yes, did take the position back. But then we were able to repass him again. Vettel now setting the pace with a 17.9, as you would have seen. And I believe Hamilton has come in at some point. We're so many laps down the road. Hamilton can't be pulling off the one-stop. And you're going to see here the next lap, we're closing up the back of Carlos Sainz. I believe a lot of these guys here that are running the super soft at the start will try and run the tyre to lap 16, and then they're going to put a set of soft compound tyres on to the end of the race. So we've done that versus Sainz. Next up is Kevin Magnussen, who hopefully we're going to be able to attack sooner rather than later. Hopefully get a nice bit of toe off him on the back straight. The only problem being is I was awful out of acceleration of the final corner, but you can see very next lap we've caught up to Kevin Magnussen. Hamilton had pit, and he's behind us now, so he's passed his teammate Bottas, and he's on the ultra soft tyre. So Hamilton committing to a second set of ultra soft. That either means he's going for a 3-stop, or he's confident he can make the ultras last long enough for a 2. Anyway, we're on lap 16, and Hulkenberg's done exactly what I said he was going to do. He has come in now, as well as Grosjean's pit from super soft tyres, so they started outside the top 10. They're going to fit a set of soft tyres and try and go to the end of the race. So they're our guys that we need to watch out for by around sort of our lap 28 mark as we're on a charge. But here we go, Bottas in our slipstream. Hamilton trying to get past me, but I had DRS off the back of the Renault And it really, at the mid-stage of this Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel was gone. Very similar to the Season 2 Mexican Grand Prix. And a little bit like Japan this season, where he's disappeared into the distance, into the lead. And I'm sort of defending P2 from a pair of Mercedes drivers. Hamilton's, of course, trying to have a better back end of the season, because his start of the season was terrible. He's battling Alonso in the Drivers' World Championship. Meanwhile, we're battling, quote-unquote, battling Bottas to see if, obviously, we can win, which, of course, this weekend we can. So, lap 21, Hamilton once again going to try and have a go. He's got DRS. We're squeezing him ever so slightly. Bottas goes to the left-hand side to make it a Mercedes sandwich into turn 1. We're going to once again brake late. Bottas and Hamilton, I think, either got very close or definitely came together there into turn 1. And at the end of lap 21, I'm once again diving in a lap early, because I don't really want to wear these tyres out too much. And once again, without knowing it, I've covered off another car, because Hamilton was in this lap to go from ultra soft to super soft. So once again, the McLaren boys need to not let me down. Another 2-second flat pit stop, and another excellent way of getting us out. They've let me down sometimes this season. You saw Hulkenberg just jet past me there on soft compound tyres, and Grosjean as well. So both those guys going to the end of the race, so we need to watch out for them as we're coming through the traffic, because we've made our final pit stop. We now need to go to the end on this set of tyres. But yeah, the McLaren boys, 2 pit stops in this race that were just sublime, and managed to make sure I got out ahead of the Mercedes there. So Vettel's still setting the pace. He's gone. He's vanished. He's won this Grand Prix except for mechanical failure. We've caught up to the back of Grosjean, who's darting around on track. I'm darting around behind him, making him think, am I going to the right? Am I going to the left? I did ride the curb a little bit, send it down the inside there. And now we've got Alonso up in third. That's Hulkenberg in second there. So right now we're on for a McLaren 3-4 as Hamilton sets a lap half a second faster than me. So he definitely has the pace. I've caught up to Nico Hulkenberg here, who's in P3. And there's Alonso there making his third and final pit stop of the Grand Prix. So he's going to go for a set of ultra softs, I believe, to the end of the race. So Hulkenberg's battling this for position. I'm in his slipstream and got DRS, and that's going to allow me to defend from Hamilton going into turn 1. Hulkenberg obviously knows he's not really fighting it, but he could do really well. I mean, even if myself, Hamilton and Bottas pass him, that's still a P5, considering he started outside the top 10 in a Renault power car on arguably a power circuit. It's a good finish. We've used a lot of our rich mix up, though, by lap 28. We're now lapping in the low 1 minute 20s, and I'm still battling both Mercedes drivers. But again, if it ends the way it is, we will win the Drivers' World Championship. Hamilton is on my outside this time around. Can he look to make that move? Swing round? No, he's locked up. And what's he going to do? He's gone straight on. Hamilton's lost a boatload of time there, and that's going to mean Bottas is going to be the car behind me as we're 35 seconds back from Sebastian Vettel, and it's Bottas now launching the attack. Hamilton actually lost a position to Hulkenberg, and my pace was so bad, Hulkenberg was sticking with us. Bottas is down my inside into turn 1 on lap 29, but once again, just not able to make the move stick. The AI seem to think the corner's tighter than it's going to be. We come across the line here, we've been saving a little bit of fuel. And we're still, just look at the time we're losing to Vettel. 40 seconds now as Hamilton back up to P3. He's going to have a go at us. Where is Valtteri Bottas? He's dropped back to P4, but he's not exactly close to us on the mini-map. I've got no idea what's happened to him. I must have missed something during the race. I don't know if there was contact at any point or what's happened there. But anyway, I've had to basically park it on the second part of that chicane to prevent Hamilton from getting through. By lap 34, Kimi Raikkonen has come out of nowhere. So let's check in with Jeff just to see how things are. So whatever has happened to Bottas and Hamilton, both Mercedes, has knocked them down the order. And I'm now in a Ferrari sandwich as we come into the closing couple of laps. We're on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. We're battling Raikkonen into turn 1 this time around. Once again, another car just not able to match the Honda in a straight line. As we now move on to the lap 36. Vettel wins the Grand Prix by nearly a minute. But we're going to come through the stadium section. Fireworks are blasting. And this is the whole point of this career mode. We're going to do it. Running out of fuel. You see it, 0.02, 0.01, 0.00. We're going to come across the line. We are world champion.
Fantastic drive. And it means you're driver's world champion. What a result. Enjoy it.
There were questions at the start of the season as to whether this package could really go all the way. But there's no question anymore. What a special year it's been. And here they are now. The new Formula One World Drivers' Champion.
I know I don't normally talk over the podium sequence, but I figured we had that display of donuts, I'm in parentheses here with my fingers, Turns out I ran out of fuel as I crossed the line, and because I was out of fuel across the line, I got the animation to do the donuts. But because I had no fuel, the car couldn't do it. So that was that. Do you know that's probably how I would celebrate a championship. Donuts is for like people like Hamilton, showy people. I'm like, no, I'll do a nice bit of slow paced crawl. You saw at the final race bit as well. Hamilton had actually disappeared. It looked like a left rear puncture there. But yeah, Vettel wins the Grand Prix by 50 seconds ahead of us. Raikkonen came home third, Perez fourth, and then Hulkenberg leading home the one-stop as P5. Bottas dropped back to P6. I don't know if he sustained any kind of front wing damage at all. I honestly genuinely can't remember, and I've got zero footage of it. Magnussen, the second one-stopper there, in 8th place, and then Kvyat 10th. Max Verstappen did 3 pit stops in the end to finish 11th. That's... okay, yeah, sure, but... just the culmination after that Grand Prix of what I set out to do, which is win the Drivers' World Championship. You know, nearly 11 months ago, setting out on the career to win the World Drivers' Championship for McLaren, and that is exactly what I've done here at Mexico. It was such a satisfying feeling. You can see it here as we look at the standings. The gap between myself and Valtteri Bottas is now 53 points. It is now mathematically impossible for anyone to beat me. While I might have made it harder for myself in, you know, certain crashes and whatever that happened there, we finally did it in Mexico. Now we need to knuckle down and focus on the constructors. We still lead, but Ferrari and Mercedes still within a mathematical chance of beating us. So now I need to knuckle down, and yes, the pressure's off me, but the pressure is still on for the team. So myself and Fernando there need to be performing and trying to make sure that, I mean, it looks likely for us to get the constructors title, but you know, we still need to make sure we get the results. So here we go. We get a little congratulations message. You have won the Drivers' World Championship, and it was satisfying. The fact that I didn't do it in F1 2016. I have now. Spoilers, I went back and finished it, you know, and there it is, Season 3. We started off with a 4th, 2 third places, finally the breakthrough in Russia to get a win, then we won in Canada. Monaco was a tough race for us, then again we win in Canada, 3rd in Azerbaijan, just that consistency at the start of the season. 7th in Austria was a bad finish for us. And yeah, just then we had that run of 3 wins in a row where that was the deciding factor. I think Belgium and Italy, where Bottas had the drive-through, and then the car issues in Italy, that was the true deciding factor. But, you know, I made it hard for myself in Singapore with the crash, and then obviously the issues we had in USA. Oh, but to win the Drivers' World Championship, that was huge. Honestly, I felt really good. Like I'd had to earn it, building the car up. Now, like I say, it's knuckling down in the final 2 rounds in Brazil and in Abu Dhabi to make sure we get the constructors. But guys, thank you very much for watching. Smash that like button for the Drivers' World Championship. The road to glory is 50% complete. We've got the drivers. We just need to get the Constructors' Championship. If you have enjoyed watching as well, comment any feedback down below that you have. And if you want to keep up to date with everything that happens on this channel, hit that subscribe button and enable them notifications to never miss an upload, update, stream, whatever comes to the channel. We are world champions in the great word of Jenson Button. I will see you all next time in the final 2 rounds as we try to become Constructors World Champions.